America.
I shower in my jeans.
Huh?
I shower in my jeans.
They're painted on.
That's well, we are recording.
We are recording.
We just
you know something that women have the option of, they can do that body paint thing and walk down the street naked and look like they just have really tight clothes on. With our genitalia, you can't do that.
That's the main feature of the vagina.
Yet they never stop bitching. All these advantages that they have. We're in a comic book store. This is like the anti-athlete place. I really feel like I stumbled into the wrong place.
That is absolutely correct. That's actually one of the things I was thinking about you. This is Bill Burr, of course, everybody. And I was thinking about you, and there are those comedians that kind of... Christian Finnegan. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Sure, you know Christian.
He's the guy whenever I go, oh, you're the white guy in Chappelle's show. Yeah, the mad real world, right? I'm like, nah, that was Christian Finnegan.
Of course.
I thought I was the white guy from the Chappelle show, and I'm finding out it was actually Christian Finnegan.
Well, yes.
I was the...
that was a doughy
sort of
Christian Finnegan.
That was a doughy before.
Back when he was super doughy.
Right? And
like
then P90X came out, and then that was it.
I believe it was South Beach. I'm
Beach?
ashamed that I know how he did it. But Christian Finnegan said that there were two types of comedians, those that got called fag and those that called people fag. And the name of the show is making it weird. You probably seem more like a guy who called people fag.
No, that's like you awkward guys.
Yeah. Get into
you
it,
guys
man. Don't
have,
censor yourself.
You guys have like that, like
I don't mean that in a hateful
You guys
way.
don't like anything aggressive. Is I bet he played football and stuffed a guy like me in a locker.
Yes.
You
Get
know?
into it.
Yeah,
I want to talk
like,
about this. Fuck you, man. We're not keeping it down for you, piece of shit.
And it isn't. It isn't like that. Yeah, that guy just came up.
We're being shushed. Like you said so perfectly, this is the opposite of being shushed.
Yeah.
We're trying to reach a large group of people.
BBC America. It's
yeah,
like,
something's
we get
taping
it. She's
downstairs.
Hot. You can see her clam.
Yeah, and
okay.
she's like, and I'm in a comic book store. That means I'm progressive and interested.
Right.
Fuck you forever.
So anyways... Yeah, like
I want to be clear. I didn't think you called people fag, but you're right. This is exactly what I'm saying and what I want you to address.
No, I did both.
Like, you like sports.
I had a very well-rounded childhood. I called people fags. I was called a fag.
Yes.
I beat some kids up for the most part. In my later childhood years, I got beat down because I hit my growth spurt late. So Baby Fat Bill lost his title. I was born with the advantage. I was 10 pounds.
Baby Fat Bill.
I was 10 pounds when I was born, and I was just there's not one cute picture of me. I look like the 50-foot baby that could crush a city.
Oh my God.
So I was able to ride that weight advantage to about 6th, 7th grade, and then all of a sudden kids started shooting up, and then that's when I had to start being funny.
You mean weight advantage like you were like formidable because of
I wasn't fat. I was thick.
You were thick.
I was husky.
You were
I think
stout.
It was called husky. Yeah,
you were there.
I had everybody by 10 pounds. When you weigh 70, somebody's got you by 10. That's like them outweighing you by fucking 80.
That's a big fucking deal. But you have a lot of vulnerability in your act. You certainly
fuck you, Pete.
I smell it on you. I just don't mean to minimize you or reduce you to some sort of jock, but you do like sports. You're
I love sports.
You're a fucking man.
Huh? I love sports.
You're a fucking man.
I'm not.
You're a man.
I am capable of unbelievable acts of cowardice.
I believe that. In fact, one of the first bits I saw you do, it was a show that changed my life. I was at the Comedy Connection in Boston. I actually just talked to Gary Gulman about this because it was you and Gary Gulman, and the rest of the people were pretty garbage. And you went up and you guys changed it for me. That was like a click moment for me where I was like, oh, you know what I mean? I don't know if you remember the first time you saw like fantastic stand-up, but it was you and Gary Gulman at the old Comedy Connection in Faneuil Hall. And I went up and I talked to you guys after the show, and it's very surreal.
Were we rude to you? Just like, yeah, whatever.
No, you were incredibly kind. Oh. And you did a bit.
Must have been early in the career.
Yeah. you were saying, I remember a couple things you said. Howdy doody face. I have a howdy doody mug me face.
Yep.
You remember that?
I remember those.
And then you told the story about the girl on the subway going, help me.
Oh, wow. That was a long time ago.
And you go, this is like 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. This is probably 12 years ago. And you were like, I'm only doubling the work for the paramedics. So there's the vulnerability. But I can still see you grilling more than I can see, perhaps.
Well, I think you go two ways when you get bullied. Either you decide to fight back or you get into comic books. I think that's basically, you either withdraw into this fantasy world where there's these superheroes that can I'm not shitting on, I am shitting on it, but I'm not. because I think the drawings are amazing. But it's like soap operas. I don't know how to jump in when you're 1,000 episodes in.
Yeah.
And there's, Spider-Man. There's the cool
I'm not
costume. There's the evil one.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't.
I think that was a Venom reference. I'm not sure.
I saw somebody. There was one down there. There was some character named Pain Man, and I think I think they're running out of names.
Yeah, that's too close to Rain Man. That's what
right. Is that what it is?
When I saw that, I was like, "Is that a joke?" It sounds like a Wayans Brothers Pain Man.
Yeah, it sounds
fake.
silly.
Yeah,
it's kind of like in sports, they're out of ferocious animals,
right?
To name teams after.
Yeah.
So now they're moving on to weather.
Are they like they have
like the Oklahoma Thunder? There's a couple of Thunder. Like anything that involves lacrosse or indoor football, it's always going to be like the cold front versus the tornadoes, the hurricanes,
the Hedgehogs,
the summer shower versus I don't know.
Okay, so we grew up in Boston, outside of Boston, both of us. I think that gives some of that edge of being attacked by bullies, even if you're not bullied, just living in Boston. It's a harsh place. When I go back,
it's a great place.
I love Boston.
It's a great place, and I think that you just sounded like Al Gore. It's a harsh place. It's a great place. I love Boston.
No, but I do love Boston. But every time I go back, I'm like, how do people do it?
No,
how do
they
stay here?
I never noticed how angry. I understand
Can't both be true?
how you stay there, but I never understood how angry that town was.
That's what I mean.
How angry I was until I left and had to leave for a while till I came back, and that's when I first noticed how tightly wound the average person is there. But as far as like living there with the Four Seasons and the sports and the food, I mean, I could live there in a second.
You mean literally the Four Seasons, not the hotel. You mean like experiencing four...
I mean the group.
Independence.
Back up. No,
No, when I fly into Logan, as I do you go home for the holidays?
No.
Okay, well, I go home for the holidays. I pay that toll, and there's a feeling of like, welcome to Boston, fuck yourself. There's a feel. For me, am I picking up on that incorrectly? It's the driving.
No, I think you're right, but I think you're also overly sensitive to it. Do you realize you're like 6'3"? Do you understand that?
I'm 6'6".
You're 6'6".
Yeah.
Okay, you still have in the core of you got bullied at a pivotal point in your life. Somewhere, and you've become this dude when, meanwhile, you could probably crush anybody who ever messed with you.
I know, but Bill,
you decided.
Me and you in a fight, you'd definitely win. You got the eye of the tiger.
Huh?
You got it in you. You're picking up a coat rack.
No.
Yeah, you are. It's like The Departed. You're hitting me.
Don't let the anger and the accent psych you out. That's what you're doing.
That's what I do. That is what I do. I buy it.
Dude, you're 6'6". You could like...
My brother used to say that. He was like, if you got it together.
I mean, you're like average height NBA.
Yeah. Michael Jordan was 6'6".
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he still is.
So, yeah, I know.
He's living. Actually, I heard he's 6'4", but they bumped it up because they do. I don't know. You would understand that.
I saw him one time at a casino in Vegas, like walk through, and it was awesome. Just see, of course, he always like dresses to the nines.
Yeah.
This is when he was still playing for the Bulls, I believe.
Yeah.
He just came walking through, and he had like security flanking him. And it was just one of those, like, it was like seeing, like, Elvis.
It is.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
our Elvis. That's going to be a story that the kids in next generation won't believe.
Michael Jordan. Like, the guy was just perfect.
Yeah. Well, here's something that I'm picking up on you in your comedy and in life that I very, very much admire. And I know that's strange to say. I'm a huge fan. I think you're fucking... When the comedian that I'm trying...
Stop buttering me up so you can trash me.
Well,
just get on with
I'm not even trashing you. In fact, that's exactly what I want to talk about. You talk about it in your comedy, and you just caught me doing it. The Al Gore thing, where you seem okay fucking having opinions, not apologizing how you feel, admitting you're full of shit, too, as well. All of it.
Completely.
You're right there on the surface. You could skip a stone on Bill Burr. It's all there. It's not in the depths. It's there. And here I am, dancing as fast as I can to make you like me, to make everybody like me. Were you always this way?
No.
You do comedy, and I think about, like, for example, you seem like the kind of guy that doesn't...
Can I address your shirt where you have the AT-ATs and the thing that's spun around it?
Yeah.
And then, I never got into my younger brother had all the toys and stuff. I was at that age, I was just too old. Yeah. You know what it was Star Wars came out, and I completely missed, like, my parents didn't take us to movies during that period because all the kids were young, and it's just, so... And that was like when we only had 3 channels because our UHF antenna was broken. Yeah. So I don't know where they advertised Star Wars, but I remember it came out over the summer, and you missed it. I missed it. Okay, in between June and September. September I come back, and everybody's going C-3PO and Chewbacca. I felt like I moved to another country. I didn't know. Did you see Star Wars? And I admitted it to a couple of people, and they were like, "Oh my god, that I hadn't."
Yeah,
and they couldn't believe it. So then I started lying, almost like when somebody makes a sex joke when you're young and you pretend to get it.
Yeah,
I started doing that with Star Wars. So then I saw Empire when that one came out. And I kind of liked that one, and then the next one with the Ewoks. By then I was just too old, and then I don't know. And then just like people are so into it.
You feel that a lot of your comedy comes from feeling outside of things. That's what's
no. I'm actually was going to talk about how you have the two AT-ATs facing each other.
Yep.
Then you got some sort of fighter jet.
Well, that's Luke's ship.
Where he flew around it to trip the thing.
Trip them.
But it actually made a heart above it.
Because he's tripping both of them and they're kissing.
Oh, is that what it is? But this goes back to you totally canceling out that you're 6'6" and shouldn't be messed with. Right there. Why would you wear that? Now, you know who would do something like that? Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee used to do shit like that to bait people into fighting him, and then he would fuck them up. He used to act actually like he was gay. He would act effeminate and walk around like, oh, my God, what's going on? And then someone would step to him, and he'd beat the shit out of him. And he really had a sense of humor. I mean, I don't have to. I'd read it in a book because I hung out with the guy. But they said, because he said, if you get beat up by a tough guy, you can get over that. But if you get beat up by a sissy, you'll never forget that. Like, that'll stay with you. So I was just like,
that's the experience he was trying to create for
yeah, that's
them.
what I liked about that.
Oh, my God, that's manipulative and masterful. That's crazy.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, how much of a badass are you that you're deliberately baiting people into trying to kick your ass, which is the main thing that as a guy you try to avoid. Around women, you try to act like you're not afraid. I'll throw down with anybody.
Right.
I'll go to prison and I'll be the guy stabbing somebody, right? You try to act like that. But in reality, so much of your life, you're just trying to avoid confrontation, which goes back to comedy, is then you bring that onto stage and you're going out there and you're trying not to get your ass kicked, basically meaning get heckled, don't...
Yeah, you're trying to kill, not
so
be
early
killed.
on, I was totally please like me. I worked squeaky clean because I was trying to cut down any chance of me getting heckled because that was the number one thing that I feared: bombing and being heckled and all that. And I just did it long enough. And
your setups are like mission statements. There's this like truth telling declaration of
listen. Don't break it down too much.
I'm going to. No, I'm
really
just saying.
It's the ramblings of someone who doesn't read.
You just referenced reading a book. I see.
Figures out how to
reading
bully
a book.
the crowd into his opinion.
Just a moment ago, you said I read it in a book.
What book?
I don't know. You said
what?
it.
Bruce Lee autobiography. Yeah, that's heavy reading. Let me read about this guy who didn't wear a shirt and beat the shit out of people. Yeah. I was gonna get around to War and Peace, but the new Slash biography came out. You count those?
Yeah, I count those.
If I ever have enough money to build a library, the books on the shelf are going to be so pathetic. It's just all going to be like Aerosmith.
But you could get heckled for just your setups now. You could say women are an unending wave that just eats away at our sense of self. And that is cause for someone to stand up. If you didn't proceed, and if you weren't already established as this guy that's going to like kind of say what he's thinking and be celebrated for that, people would be like, fuck you. I mean, go to an open mic in a costume of a 22-year-old open micer, like not you, and say women are just this.
No, but they could do it too.
Yeah, I mean,
they could do it too.
Maybe they could.
It's not,
but it would be harder.
No, it's not. It'd be harder because it's a hell room. But if it's actually a comedy club, if you go on stage and you just say what you're thinking, if there's really nothing malicious in it, like that shit that I say over the top. If you have if you took Psych 101, you're like, this is an angry guy who needs a hug. That's what you'd really do, rather than taking it at face value.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like if you're having a debate with somebody over, like, this banana isn't ripe enough to eat.
Right.
And you make a couple of good points, and I go, you're a fucking dick. Right there, I've abandoned the argument. But a lot of times people, they'll well, you're a fucking asshole.
Right,
and then it stops being about the banana. You were right. You were right over here. Right. The person totally left it out. So you can't, you can't take what people say. That analogy, some of your analogies don't even make sense. I went into debating.
You're trying to keep it to the bananas.
I'm trying to say that, people will look and say that, I hate women when they watch my act, and it's just like, you're the kind of guy who watched No Country for Old Men and was like, oh, that ending was stupid because they didn't walk you right through it. That's one of my favorite movies of all time for the specific fact that people don't understand that Tommy Lee Jones is the main character. Not the fucking Psycho.
Not Sugar.
No Country for Old Men.
Right.
It's about a guy where life has passed him by. He doesn't know where he fits anymore.
Yeah.
He's chasing a ghost. One of the last things that Psycho says is he says to those kids, "You never saw me." It's a fucking unbelievable movie.
Yeah, well, he's chasing death.
Yeah, basically.
Death
yeah,
is Sugar
and
is
all
death.
of that. He's chasing the views of society. He
Right.
wants to live in the past.
The monologue up top is the whole point of the movie.
And then it ends with the monologue, and then people just like, and they just, and
Right.
what I love about that movie is because the Coen brothers are just like a great comic where they're not going to be like, this guy knows what I'm talking about. Come on, back me up. They just go, fuck you, you figure it out.
Yes.
And we're not doing the same, like,
But that's
everybody sits around and they bitch, and they, it's the same fucking movie over and over and over again. How many times do you make the same fucking movie? And then you do something different, and then they go, that ending sucked.
Yeah.
What the
Well, they want to see the guy get caught, or I don't know what they want to see.
They want
You
to
don't
see a
even
big
see Josh
showdown.
Brolin. Spoiler alert! You don't even see what happens to him. You don't see it. You hear about it
in what movie was that?
in No Country.
In No Country, yeah.
You just hear about it. You also don't
How
see
funny
his,
is that? I'm
you don't
so
see his
bad with
wife.
the names.
Yeah, his name is it's a woman's name, Llewellyn.
Llewellyn. Now I know
Llewellyn.
that. That's Llewellyn's truck, isn't it?
Yeah. You don't often see a Mexican in a suit.
That guy is like one of my favorite actors. I don't even know his fucking
Josh
name.
Brolin.
I'm so bad at that.
But he's one of those actors that just disappears.
No, I can't remember. I'm really bad since using cell phones. I don't know what it is. Like I can remember every football stat from the 70s, but I can't remember names of restaurants. Like with my girl, I can't. I just all the restaurants that we go to regularly all have nicknames because I can't remember them.
Like you mean the place with
that place up the street that serves those giant pancakes?
Yeah.
That one's called Pancake Circus.
Yeah.
Because they have the whipped cream on it and shit. What's it called?
Oh, you mean this is real? I thought
No,
you
it's
were
real.
manufacturing one. I don't know what that's called.
Then the place I call Special Sandwich. Pancake Circus. Pancake Special Sandwich.
This is...
No, I have like name. I can't even remember the places. But if she brings up the name of a place, I know it's
You
not the
need
right.
some sort of context.
Well, I know it's not the right name at this point, obviously. So what I do is I just throw it out there, and it makes her laugh. Like I remember, I was trying to remember the name of some movie, and I called it the Last Days of Dracula, and it was the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt
Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah. Now I knew it wasn't the Last Days of Dracula, but the Last Days of Disco had just come out. And I knew it was about vampires.
You can't be bothered. Your brain can't be bothered remembering
No,
this
it can't.
stuff.
Not can't be bothered. Can't. Like I seriously cannot fucking remember.
Yeah, I have a terrible memory too. I've gotten in elevators with people that I know, and because they're wearing glasses, I don't recognize them. I'm like, people are like, who would Clark Kent work for? That disguise, it would work on me. I'm terrible with general information.
Oh yeah, and you part the hair on the other side. Forget it. It's over.
Yeah,
Superman had the worst fucking disguise ever.
He got rid of the runaway cowlick, and he put on glasses and a suit, and it was like,
That was another reason why I loved Christian Finnegan in Batman, whatever that actor's name is.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, right? When he fucking,
I'd love to see Christian Finnegan as
I
Batman.
love that, that when he was talking the way he was.
Yeah.
When he was talking like this.
Yeah.
Because if I put on a 3/4 mask and you saw my jaw, if I spoke the same way, you'd be like,
yeah.
This is Bruce Wayne, Bill Burr.
Yeah.
That's why he actually had the brains to be like, this mask doesn't cover my whole fucking face.
Right.
I talk to these people on a regular basis.
It's kind of ridiculous. He blacks out his eyes, but he doesn't with makeup, but he doesn't black out his shit. Why not just go, we now know you're white.
I know what it is.
What?
Because Gotham is a cold city. And back in the day, I remember wearing those ski masks. When you could wear a ski mask pre 9/11 on my paper route, what happens is it freezes up. Your breath freezes on the mask. So he had the brains, Batman,
to cut open
that, to leave that open. Then he thought it was stupid if I just had this big thing here. We'll cut it across there.
Yeah, well, you
Seriously.
you fucking figured it out from your paper route.
That's what it is.
So you're on. You know what's funny about you don't hate women. You do need a hug. I love this stuff so much. But
but there's a bunch of shit about women that drives me up the fucking wall.
And when
right
you
now,
do it, the
these
women like
goddamn
it.
fucking divorce settlements are absolutely ridiculous. They're robbing the Kobe's fucking wife. When he cheated on her in Denver, that relationship was over, and she hung around like some jaded cop trying to get her pension,
Right.
And hung around. The second is 10 years, divorce. Merry Christmas. Go fuck yourself. She gets $190 million. I'm not saying that guys should be able to start families and leave women destitute, but there should be a $30 million cap. All right? Stop acting like you were down the Staples Center helping him with his jump shot. You weren't. All right? You haven't even won a game of Scrabble on TV. Dude, Tiger Woods' wife just bought a $12 million house and was like, change that to marble. Change that. You know what? Just knock the whole fucking thing down. She's a babysitter. She's a fucking babysitter with $250 million. It's fucking ridiculous. And there's no law against saying I love you when you really don't, just because somebody's rich. And I swear to God, if this shit was happening to women, they would be considered victims. It happens to guys, and they go, well, you shouldn't have married her. Well, hey, that's the law. That's the law. Hey, I could beat you with a fucking mop handle 100 years ago and be like, that's the law. Doesn't mean it's right. You fucking cunts.
How did you get here?
See, there you go. That's
how did you get here?
What?
That piece of comedy is so funny. When you started comedy, what were you like?
I made fun of, hey, it's Ron Howard meets fucking Howdy Doody.
Yes.
Without the fucking. I wouldn't curse at all. Totally clean.
And were you writing at home? I understand. I have to imagine.
I wrote at home, and I was standing on stage, and there would be a teleprompter, invisible, going in my head, and I completely wasn't present.
Right.
Yeah.
I just heard this great interview when I was in Montreal. Louis said this thing about how there's two sides of the brain, and there's the side, one side of the brain is in charge of when we're just talking, like the way you and I are right now, and then there's another side that's reciting. So when you write something down, you're literally lighting up a completely different section of your brain, and it sounds artificial. I don't even have to ask. I just assume you write from stage now.
It's fucking hilarious how smart that guy is.
Right? Crazy.
I just look at it like, this is my remedial way of how I figured that out. If something funny happened to me and I was going into a bar and I was going to tell my friends, I wouldn't write it down and then rehearse it in the mirror. I would just go in and tell them.
Right.
And then what happens is like regular people have their funny stories and they know how they go.
Right.
Like, Jerry, tell the time when we got the flat on the turnpike.
Right,
and the guy
right.
will just launch into the stories. He knows what the funnies, but it's not written down anywhere.
Right. Why would it be?
So
you'd be a sociopath.
I learned from Tony V in Boston. I learned about that, and I learned when working with Patrice, because Patrice early on would open with whatever he wanted to open with. And would switch stuff up, and every time he tell you jokes, it's a little bit different. He goes, well, I just try to keep the essence of it. So I learned from those two guys. That's how good Patrice was. I learned from like a 15, 20-year vet and a guy who started 6 months after me.
Right.
Like, that's how fucking good that guy was.
I know. When I was watching your special, it actually reminded me of Patrice's special. It has that same sort of truth-telly, the sort of like hitting women stuff. You're going into these really uncomfortable areas. You talk about pedophilia. You know what I mean? Both of you guys had that sort of fearlessness. And I don't know.
No, but it was also like, it's not like we, you had the idea of it, and then we went to New York City, and then there was Louis C.K., there was Dave Attell, there was Dave Chappelle. So you learned from those guys, and then whatever your childhood was, that's how it seeped into like what you talked about.
Right. I just going back to the idea of not writing it down. I used to think I was from the completely opposite school. When I opened for you years ago in Peoria, at Brewster's in Peoria, man,
and they had that whiskey barrel on stage.
Yes,
we went and we saw The Ring.
The Ring. Yeah.
In a movie theater. It was just you. No one else was in the movie theater. It was you and me, and that movie scared the shit out of us.
Yeah, and we both considered, because remember you call and you go 3 days or
7
days. I really wanted to call your room and say 7 days, but I was like, I don't want to freak him out. I remember everything from that trip. There was I couldn't eat before the show, and here's something you said to me. One of the things I like to do on the show is recreate the advice that great comedians have given me over the time. And one of the things was I was like, I can't eat. I'd only been doing stand-up for like 2 years or whatever, 2-3 years. And I was like, I was too nervous to eat before the show. And you were like, you just said as if you had thought about it a lot. You were like, that'll go away at 5. You're like, 5 years, you'll be fine.
Yeah, because that's what happened with me.
Isn't that
5
great?
Years in, now I could eat I could be eating a Thanksgiving dinner right before.
Or during
and
your
walk
set.
on. Yeah, and then I'll just open with how full I am.
Yeah. That is.
And I shouldn't have ate that. I'm an idiot.
Right. Yeah. That is so beautiful, because if you can remember the anxiety and the stress when you're starting, the goal is to have your life be as normal as it can be while you're doing this really weird thing with your nights. So I was really stressed out about that. And then the night I actually made a video called Pete Holmes Bombing from our weekend. And it's edited all the moments of the worst parts of my set, like dry mouth, pandering, all these different mistakes. You told me a couple things. You people. You said "you people" is like calling the crowd the N-word. That's like the N-word for the crowd. This is something I picked up from you.
Okay.
Because if you go like, I don't know what you people are doing, it's like
no, I don't use the word we.
Oh, maybe I'm getting this wrong.
Yeah, I think you were running for office, and they said if you're speaking in front of a black crowd, don't say "you people."
Well, you people is definitely bad with a race room, but like
no, I definitely like.
What does we mean? Tell me about we.
Well, if you really have an opinion on something. is like, say what I just had, that what I just said about divorce laws is, as much as someone doesn't agree with what I just said who's listening to this,
Sure.
at no point was I talking at anybody. That was just, they could easily dismiss me as some
so
loud
good.
jackass.
Because you're just talking about...
Because I'm just saying what I think.
Right.
So, you know what was awesome at that was Robert Schimmel. Robert Schimmel could talk about some of the bluest stuff I've ever seen, but he would kind of look down, it was almost like he was talking to himself and you were listening in. And he was just, I'm watching this porno. Knocked the bottle over. He'd be like, and I'm watching this porno, and this guy, the dick, he's coming in her face, and he's just sitting there like, just really saying all these words that you're allegedly not supposed to say, because you're going to lose the crowd, but everybody's laughing, because it's almost like you were listening to his inner monologue.
Right.
And he wasn't like...
Where does we come in?
We is like, I learned that one night. I saw a comic at the comic strip, and I was watching him, and he was doing some bit about... And I just remember going, but do we want that? No. We want a country where we can, and I immediately, it was just, I had like this, I want to say visceral reaction, but I can't define the word. That's one of those words I heard enough people use where I can use it intelligently but can't define it. I had like, it really fucking affected me, like, where it just really turned me off, and I was like, I hate this guy right now, because I actually liked him, but I hate this guy right now. Don't tell me what I want.
Right.
And then the whole bit was kind of saying that everyone in the country was stupid. So there was a way, it's like, now you're calling me stupid.
Right.
And so, but it's not like you got to drop that bit. You can do the bit. Just keep me out of it. You know what it's like? It's like a guy who cheats on his girlfriend and brings her, and then he does it in front of you, and then brings his fucking girlfriend down the next day, like drags you into it. And it's like, why would you do that? You want to be a piece of shit, be a piece of shit. You want to think, don't fucking drag me into it.
That's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that you told me. One night, the night that I bombed real bad, there's actually two. The one that I made the video was actually the better of two nights. And I got off stage and...
the week we worked?
Yeah, the week we worked.
Yeah, you bombed real bad one night.
I did bomb,
I remember that.
I bombed real bad. And I got off stage. First of all, thank you for being gracious and not just being like, fuck, can we switch this guy? Like, can we get a new guy?
I have too much of a need to be liked to even do that to somebody who I would have thought was going to fail in comedy.
I got off stage in my stupid, overly tight, new red Gap shirt, slicked back hair, fat black pants, because that's what Orny Adams wore in Comedian. I was like, I'll wear black pants like the comedians do. And I got off stage, and it's a horrible feeling. I don't know when the last time you've seen a comedian bomb and get off stage, and he just looks at you like he wants you to make it okay. It's a horrible thing. I actually stole what you did to me, and I did it to somebody recently, because you can feel the heat on them. They want you to say
your
something.
Your body temperature goes up when bombing that bad.
Yeah. And you're like, and they'll kind of bait you with things like, I can't tell, did I just bomb? And you just want to be like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good for you. You fucking bombed. But what I said was, and this is what you said to me, you had both your hands out with all your fingers extended, and you were looking for this, like clasping them together, and this is what happened, and you touched your fingertips together. Like you just never connected with them. Because there's this weird music to it. The way you start. The way that you let them in, the way you appreciate.
You're really
their
going Charlie
laughs.
Rose with this shit, huh?
Yeah, it's pitch black in this studio right now.
I'm just saying, you're just going like.
But this is important stuff. Do you understand that you said that to me in the first 3 years of my stand-up, and like the reels are running. I'm recording it. When you're talking to young comics, that shit is carved on inside of me. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a thing that can happen when your words are just going into a vacuum and you're not connecting.
Yeah, all you had to do at some point was stop and address how badly you were bombing.
That's what you said.
And you never did it, and then it just became uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that's why I kind of like black crowds, because if you don't address it, they address it, and then the laugh. But then it's weird, because then they make the laugh happen, so then you're still bombing.
But there's still laughing happening.
Yeah, and then that becomes weird. And then you start killing in like this alternate universe where they're laughing at you.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare. For a man who didn't want to get heckled, going into the black circuit in the way that you have, it seems like an interesting choice. That's actually
because it was just like, all right, I'm going to face this fear. Let's just go in as deep as I can go, and that's what it was. And then that was really hard at first, but then those rooms become really easy, because once you figure out that you're like the mascot and that if you're actually even remotely funny, you get way more laughs than a black comic in those rooms that are twice as funny as you because they're just you're not special.
That's what you told me. You are the exception.
So then it becomes so that's why. You know, as a white comic, you can't tell me you haven't been sitting there and you're watching a black comic bombing in front of a white crowd and they'd be like, oh, look at this white lady over here grabbing her purse. She thinks I'm the one, and goes out and everybody dies. Oh, they start beatboxing to get out of it. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's so urban. The white comics can't do that. But they're doing the hackiest shit ever.
Right.
And you're like,
do you say I'm the only macadamia nut in the cookie?
Yeah, I know. Like that. Exactly. Like the, gee, was I scared coming up here? I did all of that. So then when I what I would do is, so then it became like, okay, now I've gotten over the fear of doing these rooms. Now can I open with something that doesn't involve me addressing that I'm the only white guy here, or that some racial, or a story about getting mugged, like that story that the owl let go on my neck that always killed in the black rooms.
Yeah.
So I had like these crutch bits that I could do. That like there's a formula for any room. Like, take the alternative rooms that you do. You can write a 20-minute bit on Micronauts, and that's going to kill.
What's a Micronaut?
You know, those little robot things that guys like you played with before. You know, those little fucking things. They're like they were like the original Transformers.
Micro Machines, perhaps?
But you know that you can do that, or go up there and sing some bad song from the 70s
We talked
a
about
cappella.
this. Alt hack. We talked about this. There's a hack for every room.
Yeah, I kind of have issues with alt rooms.
I'd love to talk about it.
I really do, because I felt like they somehow I do them all.
You come up in every conversation
but this is the thing.
I have.
This is the thing, though.
We all go, Burr, Louie, Gaffigan. In fact, I have an email from you.
Can I get on with trashing the alt rooms before you go to your newspaper here?
I want you to trash the alt rooms.
I don't like
but you do both. You do both.
Yeah, that like there was this fucking vibe coming from the alt side, where like even written on like people's CD, going, this isn't a bunch of guys working on airline material.
Who said that? Where was that?
On a Letterman audition. How the fuck did it go?
Is this an article you read?
No, this was in the inside liners of some alt guy's fucking CD.
Well, fuck that forever. You can't.
No, fuck you. Because you're part of that scene. So it became this thing like all the hack guys were in the clubs going, what's the deal with? And I started going those alt rooms, and after a while I go, there's the hacky shit that you can do in here. Everybody's fucking awkward.
Buddy,
everybody does that.
I'm right there with you, singing your punchline, unicorns, ninjas. These are our hack things.
All that type of shit. And then this is another thing I hate.
You don't think we're on the same side.
Everybody fucking blows those audiences down at UCB like they're so smart. Everybody down there is so fucking smart. It's like, dude, UCB is the nerd blue collar tour. It's nerds performing for fucking nerds. You all grew up on the same block. And then it's just like, wow, you think everything I think is funny. You guys are so smart. And then you go down to the Laugh Factory because there's a mechanic who can tear a car down and build it back up again. All of a sudden, he's a fucking moron.
I was at the Laugh Factory
He doesn't laugh at your Wolverine bit. Give me a fucking break. There's just as many hacks in your room as there are in mine. Go fuck yourself.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, it's come up on the show before.
You know how boring that is?
What,
for you
agreeing?
to just sit here and agree with me. Why don't you fight me back? And then this is the thing. Another thing too is those rooms were started by club comics, by the way.
Which I know, Mara and Janine, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all these beasts. But they were started by, and they created a cocoon for the pussy generation to come in. I don't want to get heckled.
Yes.
Everybody just know what I know, and then I'll talk about it. And then when you laugh, I'll curl up into a ball. Go fuck yourself. It's like
I almost want to disagree with you.
You guys are all. The only thing you guys are missing in those rooms are wearing helmets and like padded elbows,
pad up the corners,
knee pads and shit.
Baby proof the room.
Yeah, give me a break. Now, obviously, I went way further than I should have.
Yeah, no, but
you know what I mean.
I'd love to talk about this. Your perspective is I think is correct. There's a hack everywhere. This is what I've said on the show before. Nick Kroll, I think when we were talking about it, was like, oh, I made a room full of people who share my entire life experience and worldview laugh. So I
talked to him the other day, and he was going, I'm going to start doing the clubs. I'm like, that's exactly what you should do. You know what you should do? You should go do the fucking black rooms. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
You should go from that and then go down into that, and then you will become instantly, you'll have like this unbelievable knowledge. And I'll tell you, in all those rooms, there's the hack that you can do. As a white comic, you do the hack in that. As a black comic, all of them. So it's basically about avoiding doing that in whatever room you're in. But to sit there and, like fucking DeRosa one time was telling me about some room in Brooklyn going, that is the greatest night of comedy in the country or something like that. I'm like, dude.
Oh, you mean Union Hall?
I don't know what it was. I'm like, dude, it isn't. I'm going to go down there, and it's going to be just like any other comedy show. There's going to be 10 comics. Two comics are going to be fucking great. There's going to be another 6 people trying to get to their level, and then there'll be like 2 or 3 where you're like, who the fuck ever told you were funny?
Who told you could work with men?
It's going to be the same...
Yes.
Same thing.
Well,
All right, I'm off my stool.
No, this is why I wanted you on the show, man. We've talked about this every time it's come up on the show. I'm like, I kind of want to just save this for Burr. This is my theory. Clubs are weight training. These rooms are cardio. And you see the meatheads that can only do the clubs, that can only see a Jewish guy in the front and go, "You're from Brooklyn?" You know what I mean? Just like that sort of shit.
Right.
And then you see the guys that can only do the Micronauts bits.
Right.
It's wrong to have your allegiance to any of these places. It's funny. Guys like you, who I love and respect, but whenever I do the Laugh Factory, they go like, what are you doing here? You belong over there. And when I'm here, sometimes people are like, oh, Pete's here. He's not at a club. Like, I kind of like in high school, I don't belong to the jocks or the nerds. This is something that you taught me. You got to be able to do both. You got to
be Pete Holmes
every time.
And yeah, if you're doing the I always call it mixed nuts. What the fuck is it called now? Comedy Union, or if you're doing UCB,
yeah,
you're doing the store. You're doing because even the store, the Laugh Factory, and the Improv have different vibes to them. Like the Laugh Factory it's really well lit.
Yep,
a lot of young people there. It's like a totally different. You almost feel like you're doing a TV taping. Comedy Store is dark and evil, which of course that attracts.
Yeah,
I just love that place. And then the Improv is sort of a mix of both of those, where the evil is a little stealth there, and there's definitely a lot of young sort of vibe. But I like all of those clubs for different reasons, and I like going down to the UCB to do stand up because it's such a specific crowd, so it's so easy to piss people off with. And it's it's unbelievable. No, but it's so easy to feel crass in those rooms, like, which is so much fun to just sit there and be like, these fucking broads. I mean, just saying that, like me saying fucking broads, like I say it because it's funny. It's like a throwback. That's like, what was I? Am I driving a bus in the 50s?
Right.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
So
this comes up all the time. I love the word
broad. But if you
broad.
say it in like the UCB, it's like,
edgy.
It's not even edgy. It's just like they look at me like I just feel like that kind of vibe of like, oh my God, did this guy grow up in the sewer or something like I'm this uneducated. I mean, I am an idiot to a certain extent, but there's just something like that shit that you say, that how you start out with a joke. Like, it's funny to start off with an over-the-top statement to get like 10-15% of the people to be like, what is he saying?
Yeah.
And then
so they're not stagnant.
And then to try to bring them around. Well, it's also a great way to get people to listen.
Yes, that's what it knocks them out of their whatever they're frozen into. Now they're
if they're like texting, or like texting is fucking brutal though, because people zone out. But I would say, like, back in the day when someone was talking, a great way to get them to listen is you just start, like, say that dog bit that I did. All right, on my last special, I started off making fun of shelter dogs, so that people love dogs. So immediately they're going, and I know the end of it.
Yeah,
I mean, I had the shelter dog bit in the beginning because I hated that commercial because it made me feel guilty. Right. And then I had that bit for 6 months, and then I ended up getting a rescue dog. A found dog is how I call them. Found it by a river.
Is that true?
Yeah. My girl got it. And then it was a pit bull, the whole fucking thing. So so then I kept the making fun of that shelter dog thing, and then I had this whole new experience with she got a pit bull, and I was afraid of the pit bull, so I kept all of that. So there was a good 6-7 minutes of me just sort of trashing shelter dogs or being afraid of pit bulls and everything. So fucking animal people in the crowd were just like livid.
Yeah.
And then it brings around that me falling in love with this pit bull, and it's just like it's kind of how you can get people, like, they're mad, but they won't, like, I never got into that whole walk in the crowd. It's like, I want to try to make you mad, but I want to make you stay.
Yeah.
'Cause if you leave, then
you lose.
Well, then the game's over, and it's like, I can't annoy you anymore. You win. you walked out.
You kind of do it with the pedophilia thing, which is a weird way to start your CD. That's on what's it called? It's called Why Do I Do This?
Why Do I Do This?
Which is fucking unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm sorry, I'm going to butter your bread more. It's unbelievable. And you open with a pedophilia.
We are going to talk about something other than comedy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
because I got to let you know, people do this on all podcasts at this point.
Yeah.
It's comics sitting there talking to other comics about comedy.
Yeah.
Which I will do.
This is like
for
Nick
fucking
Kroll.
ever. But everybody is doing it. So at some point you want to talk about global warming or some other shit.
But I mean, like, we're in the hardware store. I'm going to pick up some hammers. I'm talking to a fucking comedian. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get into some other stuff. But this is... In fact, the show, I pride the show on going into some weird areas. That's why it's called You Made It Weird. But, man, there's just so much I want to talk to you about this stuff. So, but fuck, I just forgot what we were talking about.
You said, why do I do this? You started off with the pedophilia thing.
Oh, you do the pedophilia thing, and thank you very much. And then you're doing it, and I can feel the crowd being like, what is this guy's take on pedophilia? You're kind of like, I'm done. It's not everywhere. Fucking take it easy with the pedophilia. And then you bring it into, I love kids. I love making faces at kids. Everyone relates to that. Suddenly, you started this bit, and we're uneasy.
If we break this down anymore, like my whole act, it won't become
be
a
funny
party
anymore.
trick.
I know.
This is what he's doing. This is what he's doing.
I know. There's a weird. I say this on the show all the time. If you want the song, don't dissect the goose. You know what I mean? Like, don't cut into the bird. You'll kill the bird.
It's not like what I do all the time.
No, I know.
It's like it is like stand up after a while. Once you've learned how to kill, then it becomes like, how deep a hole can I dig and still crawl out of it? Or else you're just bored shitless.
It's masochistic. You want to see how far you can push them and get back. That's a phenomenon for comedians. Something else that seems to be happening. You're very.
Having said that, I believe everything I say.
You have a lot.
Is that my water, by the way?
Yes, it is.
Nice. Thank you.
I got you smart water. That's LA water, man. Get into it. You have a
Fresh
lot
from
of
the LA River.
Yeah, that would kill you. This is you have a lot of rage. A lot of rage.
Which I've really worked on.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. Last night.
What do you mean worked on trying to minimize it?
I'll tell you what. Like last night, I was putting together. I ordered this. I'm really into like just lifting yourself with your own body weight. You don't need to go to the gym. Just hike, eat well,
like prison.
And then do like
pull-ups, push-ups.
Yeah, no, not like prison,
but like prison.
Like pull-ups.
Okay, like yoga.
Yeah,
like Pilates.
There you go. Yeah,
yeah,
like sharing your feelings.
It's either prison or yoga, man. Those are the two groups that are doing that.
Yeah, you're on this side of the fence or the other. So I bought one of those. I live in this place now. I got this funky little garage, and I bought this place. I bought this it's a pull-up dip station thing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know those things.
Yeah,
so
you can wrap it around the door, or you can do push-ups on it.
No, this is like the standalone thing.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was only like $130, man. It was
Really?
fucking good. So, dude, I sat there, right, and like I just used this thing as an exercise to not lose my shit. So I'm in the garage.
You're burning off rage.
I got my dog. No, and this is what I do before I start. The old me would just start building the thing. And then be like, where the fuck are all the screws? And I would flip out. What I do is I lay everything out. I take inventory. I did all of that stuff. None of it really made sense. The instructions were fucking horrible.
Yes.
There was like a typo on one of them. So already the instructions were horrible. Forget about my inability to do this. So both of those combined, that I had to put this thing together in sections and then take it apart again and realize that I fucked up.
Right.
It took me. I started at 8:40, and by the time I was done with cleaning up and everything, it was 1 a.m.
Really?
I'm not even joking.
Really?
And I only lost my shit once. I lost my shit on the very first step. I was screaming about the machinist who was out drinking beers, who didn't give a fuck. I created this whole backstory. While I'm sitting here with this thing, and I was just like, what am I doing here?
Right.
This is stupid, and I just sort of chilled. And then what I'm trying to do is learn how to laugh at myself, so I don't. I don't. I want to be angry.
Yeah.
Joe DeRosa has some bit about some guy schooling him on not getting angry at an inanimate object, and that was something he did that stuck with me. Like subconsciously, like I didn't even I listened. I'm like, hey, it's a good joke, that's fucking funny, but blah blah blah, like the usual shit. Just laugh. I think he's fucking hilarious.
I love Joe.
Yeah, like there's he's just fucking he's just funny, and then I like his point of view. So
yeah.
It was just something I just laughed at when he did it, but it didn't really. I was just looking at superficially, like, oh yeah, I get mad at shit, and I've yelled, and people like, hey man, calm down.
Yeah.
And then just one day I was putting something together, and like his joke popped into my head.
About not getting mad at an
inanimate object.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course,
And what is that
the
philosophy?
first 6 times I was like, you know what? Fuck Joe DeRosa. I'm still getting
Now
mad.
you're mad at him, too.
Yeah, I'm mad at his joke.
Yeah,
I'm mad at the guy in his joke.
You're mad at words and a fake person.
No, it's basically just saying that it's a fucking inanimate object. There's no reason to have this level of rage.
And so you're trying to laugh at yourself.
Like when I fuck up,
and
and you just sit there going, I had a 50-50 chance. There's a couple of pieces that it didn't really have top or bottom on it.
Right.
Like say, and of course, like I could say, I had a 50-50 chance of putting that in right.
Right.
Even the fact that I didn't know, and I still put it in wrong.
Right,
and where it was is I had to take 3 other things off and put it back on. And so
this feels very IKEA to me. I've been there.
No, it was beyond IKEA.
Worse,
This was you needed 2 crescent wrenches torquing in different directions. Like this was like
torque is a verb. Loved it. Loved it.
Is that a verb?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is. It is. Well, this is how the podcast started. That I was coming in. And these people are shooting, and they were shushing us as we were going.
I just realized how
up the
dumb
stairs.
I just sounded. You go torquing as a verb, and I go, is it a verb?
Yeah,
no,
well,
the way you used it's stupid.
No. Well, see, okay, inner rage, and then I had this rage toward these people where they were like, "Be quiet." And in my head, all they did was shush because they're shooting something. In my head, I've already had every argument with them. I've yelled at them, and I've been like, "You didn't clear with us. We didn't clear with you."
Catastrophizing.
More people are going to hear this podcast than are going to see this piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like mean shit.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah. Oh God, the ego, the fucking swinging dick from Country of Old Men of a comedian, just like fuck you. This is my house. You're shooting in my. And then of course I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll keep it down, no problem. But then what I'm wondering is did the stage become the first place that you could really let out? You have a lot of anger towards humanity in general. These bovine motherfuckers eating at Cheesecake Factory, slothing about, contributing nothing. These are things you say, not inventing anything. You don't have it in your genes.
I don't remember saying that. I said all that.
You say, stop having kids. You've had 3 shitty kids. You clearly don't have the DNA to make a special one. You're just going to have another one. And then, I fucking was dying. And then I realized what I was laughing at was the worldview of the Illuminati. Like, minimize the population, get it down to like 30,000 people.
You know what the problem is I think that they're going to treat it, the minimizing the population, unfortunately, I really believe it's going to be treated like a term paper, where it's going to be done the night before. Rather than just going like, just getting on TV and risking scaring the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
And say, look, there is a finite amount of people that can exist on this world, and there will be enough water, clean air, and food to eat. Okay?
Right.
Why don't we just chill
with babies?
And yeah, but the thing is, you're going to deal with all that whole religious backlash of the lunacy.
Fruitful and multiply.
Of like, how you can't question religious people. They absolutely lose their fucking minds. Well, that's one of the things why I like science. It blows my mind because I'm so dumb, and I still don't understand how a plane stays off the ground. I get how it gets off, like I can, but I've come back immediately. I don't get that. It's like surfing on the air. Everybody's trying to explain to me the lift. I still don't get it. But what I like about science is science can be questioned.
Yeah.
And, and there's egos, and people will fight you and say you're full of shit and that type. But you can disprove something that was considered right way easier.
Yeah.
In a much quicker time.
And it'll change its mind. It's open to the idea.
And then this is the thing.
It was never canonized.
And
Science was never canonized.
And when you do, and you have facts, and you change it with facts.
Right.
It's not like...
Well, do you know what I mean by that? The religion, the canonization of the Bible was when they decided this is the Bible. It was a council. We're looking at scripts and stuff that had been written for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, if you're looking at the Old Testament. And then a group of people got together, I don't know the year, and they made the canon, meaning what the Bible is. And they're like, this is it. It's done forever. Then they can find a transcript.
Which is so stupid, because that would be like you as a comedian going like, I am done.
Right.
Developing.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to...
It's not open.
I'm not moving on to anything else.
Yeah. It can't be moved. Even if they find an older version of 1 Peter, let's say, this sort of stuff happens. They find an older script, and it's different. I've said this on the show before. They had Goliath at 13 feet or something in the Bible. The Bible, if you went into Barnes & Noble and read it now. And then they found like an older version that was like saying he was more like my height. That's a pretty big difference.
Oh, I think that's bullshit. I think he was a 13-foot man. It's just fucking... half of those stories should be painted on the inside of a cave.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
BillBurr.com.
I'm just saying. Look, the basis of all religions is awesome. And I actually enjoy going to church the few times a year I do. It reminds me to be a good person.
Sure.
It gives me a sense of community. I like all of that stuff. But the fucking stories and the guilt trip of my religion is you have to be like, look, I'm not going to put it on everybody else. Just for me, the way it hits me is I just see it as, you guys are just trying to scare the shit out of me, and you don't know what happens when we die. I don't give a fuck. You don't know. You don't know. It makes no sense that God, and this is a hacky bit right here because a bunch of guys have done it. It makes no sense that God was talking to people on a regular basis as a burning bush.
Right.
And then he said to this guy, hey, you better do this, so this is going to happen. And all of a sudden he just stopped.
Well, this is one of those, you have a bit about this that also just kind of went into my brain and has been there forever. And I say it all the time and I reference it and I quote it, giving you credit, of course. I go, when you go to church and there's some guy up there preaching, your thought is, it's just some guy.
It is.
He likes soccer. I don't know why that's such a funny example.
Yeah.
This is some guy who likes soccer. And then you have that other bit where you're telling me not to jerk off. It's my dick, right?
Yeah.
That's these are like religious bits to me.
I don't buy into the whole thing that there's this guy who's mad at me.
A conscious God judging you actively.
Yeah, because if I'm fucked up, isn't it his fault? It's like he made me. Like I feel like I'm like a Fiat or like a car. You know those cars that you just always have to keep fixing?
Yeah.
Like, when it goes back
You're a Fiat!
When it goes back to the plant, to like the auto workers yell at the car, it's like you built it.
Yeah, that's
you
so
built it.
interesting.
So that's why I think they created like the devil. They create the devil so then you can be like, well, the devil made him do it. And,
right.
Like I just don't understand why if you had the ability to throw a lightning bolt down and eliminate bad people, why pedophiles are allowed to walk around, do what they do, go to jail, get out, do it again. I mean,
you're looking for a little bit more hands-on of a God.
Well, I mean, no, just the God that they're describing that is going to be wrathful.
Well,
Jesus is coming back, and he's going to be mad. And I just remember being like 7, 8 years old, going, "What the fuck are all these people so goddamn mad at me for? What have I done?" And like, I started looking at my life, like, "Oh my God, what am I doing?" It's like I'm in 3rd grade.
Yeah,
I'm not doing anything.
Right. Well, that was one of the things that I remember debating. I went to religious school, and one of the things that I remember, I knew this kid, and he had a theory that God wasn't all-powerful. Because of the fall of man, he can't do everything that he'd like to do because the world is so fucked. So people will go to great lengths to, like, explain Pain Man,
right,
and explain all this different sorts of loss and stuff.
I don't like any of that shit where they I don't like how the lack of respect for an animal's life, and then we're like, but God created us in His image.
Yeah.
So basically, we're like God light.
Right.
And just the ego behind
there
it.
There is a huge ego.
The whole fucking thing.
That's actually interesting.
The
Mormon religion was one of the first things that really made me start kind of questioning all of it, because I was like, oh, that feels like a religion that you would make up. And I don't want to upset. Well, see, I can't be like you. I'm just speaking for me.
It all seems like there's a... The human touch is so all over, because first of all, everybody thinks they're right, and everybody considers, God loves everybody, but we're the chosen ones.
Right.
Like, God loves me best. That whole fucking attitude is what builds up like... I would love to say that if there was no religion, there would be no wars, but that's not how human beings, I don't think, are made up. I really don't.
No, I don't think that's true either.
How fucking deep into this shit are we right now? Like, we're like two philosophers. Like, if you...
People love knucklehead philosophers.
Oh, okay. As long as it's framed as knucklehead
we are two
philosophizing,
knuckleheads.
I'm all over.
You have another wonderful bit where you're like, I'm full of shit.
I'm
why is
drinking
anyone
smart
listening
water,
to me?
people.
Yeah, why is anyone listening to me? Well, the more my understanding of what I've studied about the Mormon religion is that heaven is like becoming like a god. You get your own planet, and you have your celestial brides, and you fuck, and you populate the planet, and you become like God. This is my understanding. I'm sure there are different Mormons that have different interpretations.
Oh, this is how the Mormons do it?
But this is how I was told. And when I was told that, I was like, that sounds suspiciously like the best idea ever.
That sounds like a P. Diddy video back in the day.
I have my own planet.
I got my own planet,
What?
dog.
What?
Yeah, spitting crystal out.
Exactly.
Because I'm a god. I'll create some more.
That's the original. That's like the story of the Garden of Eden, wanting to be like God, and they were just like, no, you will be like God. The way that God is today, one day you will be, but God will also keep progressing. So you'll never be as good as Him, but you'll catch up to Him. But He'll always keep moving forward too. This is how it was explained to me. So I was
It's like trying to catch up with David Tell.
Or Louis. That's what I would
love.
say.
Yeah, Louis. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're never going to catch those guys.
You're also one of those not to bring it back to comedy, but you're one of those guys I don't like watching you. I watched you to research for this because I'm like, oh, he scorched the fucking earth. Pedophile, gone. Can't do a bit about that.
No,
and
you
it
can't
feels
think
a
that
little
way.
bit like, look, I'd like to think I could go in the mine and find something that you left behind, which is a Brian Regan quote. He loves going in those familiar topics, airline, food, whatever, and he has some fucking hilarious
that guy
airline
is
material.
Unbelievable. He'll do 2 shows in one night. Do like 2 different
the
hours.
A and the A and the B set, and people will come to both. He's fucking unbelievable.
And talk about underrated.
I know.
He's like reverse Tim Tebow. You know what I mean? Like Tim Tebow was getting so much hype last week because he actually threw passes that an NFL quarterback should throw.
Right.
Like.
And here's Brian Regan doing 2 separate hours.
2 separate hours, right? And like if you wear a silly hat and you get a catchphrase, you can get like you know, you could really. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but like I feel like that guy. I don't get it. I don't get why.
I'd love to have him on the show. How did you?
I think because if you're just like a nice guy, you're not going, look at me, look at me, look at me, like
right. But he has hordes of huge fans.
He does.
And sells out theaters.
I know, but I'm so sick of people with their fucking lists.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean the list of the best guys?
Yeah.
Leaving off Regan?
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
It's ridiculous.
When I met him, I have a big story about that I've told on the show before, but one of the things I said, I was like, every working comedian that's successful today should write you a handwritten thank you note, because I feel Regan on everybody.
Dude, I would say as far, we've already mentioned the guys, the Tells, Louis C.K.'s, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Brian Regan is... you can't do it any better than that guy.
And it by his own terms.
Oh, my
He's doing
God,
it his way.
He's the first real headliner, like touring headliner I ever saw. I saw him at Nick's Comedy Stop, and I never saw anybody kill wire to wire the way he did. He had like, I just remember seeing this woman. I never forgot. She was slumped over in the chair next to her. Like, you would have thought she just had a heart attack and died if she wasn't, like, shaking from laughing. Like
you would have thought she died.
Do you know, like, how hard you have to make somebody laugh that they, like, fall over, you know?
I mean, love that.
I should say a white person, to make a white person fall over. Def Jam.
Black people are better at comedy and magic.
They black
I understand what you're
audience
saying.
members will run out of the room.
And
do
they'll run it off.
White people are you really got to work. To get a white person.
We got that puritanical guilt.
If you can make a white person stomp their feet, a black person would have passed out at that joke.
Well, this is interesting. The idea of Regan I remember seeing him the last time he did Caroline's, and he was like, and I'm only going to do theaters, all this stuff. It's interesting. Here you are doing theaters and such. I remember the name of the show is...
In certain areas. I always do the clubs. Clubs of the gym. You got to keep...
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's interesting. I say that like I knew that, but why did I agree with that?
Because you want to be liked.
I know.
Normal.
Fuck me forever. But anyway, I'm always interested in the philosophy of success. You are a comedian. You're a fucking comedian, man. Did you know that when you were a kid? Were you like, nothing else is going to fit? You know what I mean?
No, I was an idiot. I kept... it was like everything that I wanted to do and I'll be a cop, but I'll be the funny cop who pulls you over and everything. And I still couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. It was so ridiculous. Like,
right.
I had memorized all these Carlin and Pryor albums, and I used to ride around doing my paper route. And I would be doing the bits, pretending I was doing them in front of my class, making everybody laugh, and I still wasn't able to be like. So that means
right. This is a calling for me.
Yeah, like if I was on the $10,000 pyramid and someone was giving me clues, like I would. Next one, pass,
oblivious,
pass, yeah.
But still, like a rich fantasy about thinking about what it might be like to be a comedian.
And it didn't seem possible because I came from a jock town, and there really wasn't a lot of artsy stuff going on. It was like really like a blue collar. You fixed stuff. You played sports. You drank. and it was an awesome town.
Right.
But it was a little light on the artsy stuff.
Sure.
And
so it makes it even harder to like say, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do this weird thing.
Yeah, and also like entertainment was so far away.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, I mean, I guess the internet technically was around, but the YouTube videos, like none of that was going on.
Yeah.
So you were just sitting in your parents' house with just this fantasy of doing it. So
there were
TV seemed like a zillion miles away. So I got a job in a warehouse, and I worked with a guy who also loved stand-up the way I did. And I was over his house one day, drinking before we went out. That was the Boston thing. Get a good buzz going.
Pre-game.
You know, so when we don't have to pay as many drinks, just start the night off with drinking and driving. That's how we're going to build this night. And then we're going to see what happens 4 hours later.
Oh, God.
So we were watching, like, Stand-Up Spotlight, and we were just watching this, and the guy was just going, look at these guys. He goes, you guys, we're funnier than these guys.
Yes.
And he wanted to do it. And he said, one of these nights, I'm going to take a shot at Jack, and I'm going to go up on stage. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't on TV. Now it's sitting next to me, and I'm just like, you're going to do it?
Yeah, man.
And I was like, well, fuck, maybe I should think about doing it. And that was right around that time I heard that if you don't go after what you want, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And that just stuck in my head, and I was like, I just made a New Year's resolution. I was like, I'm going to try it sometime this year. That's how nervous I was. I gave myself a whole year. And the second I made that promise to myself, like 3 weeks later, there was like stand-up comedy competition. It just kind of popped. It's like, I need a mattress. And all of a sudden you see all these billboards of it.
Yeah.
It like pops out at you. So
yeah.
I immediately went home, and I immediately called the number before I chickened out. And that was it.
Isn't that funny? You when you have the nerve, that's when you got to strike. I remember the Comedy Studio, a place we both perform. I called Rick Jenkins before I had that same feeling of like, I got to dial it right now, or I'm never going to do it.
I won't. Yeah,
never going to. And then when I moved to Chicago, I walked past the place that said Comedy Mondays every day on my way to my shit job. Not that it wasn't that shit, Bennigan's, but I was like,
I know that feeling as you're walking, going, I want to be in that world.
Yeah,
and you get like excited, like you're walking into dumps. Like it's still to this day, like I still have that like. I don't know. Just seeing the mic and the mic stand before the show, I still like looking at that. Like I still have that nerd thing about stand up. And with that, let's actually go to global warming.
Yeah, it's actually kind of similar to the religion thing. Actually, is like what helped you become a comedian and helped you build this worldview about comedy was seeing that it's just some fucking guy. It's your friend, and he's gonna do. And you're like, Richie from Revere?
Yeah, he's going to do it.
He's some guy. The comedian on stage, like the pastor, is just some guy. And whenever people ask me, how do you start comedy? I don't say do an open mic. I say go to an open mic. And your belly will fill with fire, and you'll be like, I could do this as well or better. And then you realize it's just the same knucklehead. Sometimes it's the guy that was working.
And then you
the
just
door.
start doing it, and then all of a sudden you get $5 gas money, you get $20, you get $50. It's really like baby steps. So then it becomes funny once you become a working comedian, and then when younger comics come up to you, and they're asking you all those questions. In the back of your head, you're just like, I'm some shithead from a warehouse.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And then you start going. Then you start thinking like, God, how did I get to be the guy? They go, how do you get into this shithole room?
Yeah.
And then the next level is, God, I'm old. Because then they start going, I remember I was in 4th grade, and they got like a full beard. I was in the 4th grade, and I saw you on Conan. And you're like, oh my God, how old are you? And they'd be like, 31.
Right.
I've been doing it 8 years.
Oh God.
And I was like, you start doing the math, and you're just like, holy shit, I did Conan in 99. This kid was, that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Wow. But this is something I wanted to talk to Gaffigan that I regretted not asking him about. Bridging being a comedian, doing the clubs in New York, you had some TV opportunities, you were doing different spots and stuff, but bridging that gap between that guy and fucking you and fucking Gaffigan, these guys, and, Regan is certainly a different thing, but, like, people are into it. Did you have a strategy to be like, the hour special is going to tip me? I know that's not a weird question.
No, I just love doing stand-up, and I was out here earlier in my career, and I was auditioning, and I just remember the auditions felt like they got in the way of my day, because I just wanted to go down to the fucking Laugh Factory, and I just wanted to try out my new bits. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's really what I wanted to do, and I just finally was just like, you know what? I got to go back to New York because I went to New York and I booked a short-lived sitcom.
Townies.
Yeah, and I got on that thing, and it came and it went, and then that fucked up my head where I was just like, oh, I have to be on a sitcom or else I don't feel like I'm successful. And I felt everyone was looking at him like he used to be on this thing,
right?
And now he isn't, and which people do, and people just because they're miserable with where they're at, and I didn't have the maturity to realize that I should just let all that shit go,
right? But
I couldn't get on stage anymore because I wasn't the show wasn't on long enough. And
for people to know,
yeah, and it just became this pain in the ass. And I would be hanging out in the back of the club trying to get on, and every fucking other month, the new fat guy would move to town, and he'd be, I'm fucking fat, and then they would stick him up and try to get him the fat guy show deal. This is the '90s when they were doing all these sitcom deals. So I finally was just like, I got to get out of here. I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to go back to New York and try to be as funny as I could be. So I'm just going to do that, and because I used to look at guys like Chris Rock, and I just looked at, Chris Rock, he got SNL early on, but like when he really just said, fuck this, I'm doing an hour of this is stand-up, and then he got that, then he got the TV show, and then he got the movies, and he got all this other type of stuff, and like, it's one of those things where I know that I can't be like, well, Chris did this, so then I'll just do that, and then I'll get this. It's like when Dane was on MySpace, and everybody's like, well, I'll go on MySpace, then I'll have a million fans. It's like, you're not him.
Right.
But I knew when I watched Chris Rock that I was like, this guy's a lifer. Yep. I knew right off the bat watching him, I was like, this guy, like he had those things where he had the comedy albums. Part of that montage, there was just something about that where I was like, this guy is neck deep in this shit. Like this guy is a lifer. And I don't know. It was just.
I think this is about.
I really, honestly, where I'm at in my career right now, if I just stayed here for the rest of my career, I would be totally fucking satisfied. If I put an hour out every 2.5 years, and everybody liked it, and it was different enough from my last one that I felt like I had progressed, and people kept coming out to my shows, I don't give a fuck. I would love to be in Ocean 14. Yeah. Whatever. I would love to do the
smart mouth van guy.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Absolutely. But if I don't give it, I don't give a shit.
Oh God, I love that purity. I love that so much. And I think I see. This is about the time that I knew you in New York. Townies was over. You were in L.A. You were back in New York. And this is another one of those things that again the reels were running and I was paying attention. You said to me, you were like, I want to do an hour every year, and I was like, that's ridiculous. And you go, it's a minute a week.
Minute a week.
Minute a week.
Yeah.
52 weeks.
That's must have been when I was still writing that I would look at it that way. It's just more like you just start talking now. But
right. And then the other thing that you said.
But now you know what I discovered about you can write an hour every year as far as like I go. I just feel like that's like that doesn't work for like the way Louis does it. Like I don't know how he does that, but it doesn't work for me. Where if I was to do it every year, the hours would be too similar. I wouldn't have.
I understand.
Like it's it's weird. Like like your life changes a lot in 2 years, but like a year goes by like that. But 2 years is
you're in a different place.
Where like in like if I did Why Do I Do This 2008, and then 2009 I immediately did another special.
Yeah.
I would have missed out on I Got a Dog.
Right.
But I waited 2 years and I got a dog. I moved to L.A. Like all this stuff happened.
Right.
And so I had
lived a life.
I got into conspiracy theory. I got into like different. So
you knew what I was talking about when I said the Illuminati want to reduce the population of the Earth?
No. Oh, no, I thought you were into it too. That's hilarious.
I am into it too.
As all conspiracy theories.
You retweeted my thing. I said, hey, the government is offering free mind control shots. As a bonus, you won't get the flu. And you retweeted that, and I was like, oh, Bill must be
why would you go down and have, first of all,
the
antibody or whatever it is called, the I always want to say serum, the what do you call it?
The vaccination.
The vaccination has to have part of
the disease.
So, like when they come up for a cure for AIDS, they're going to shoot a little bid of AIDS in you.
Just aid.
Yeah, aid.
One aid. We're going to give you one aid.
So I always do, so my joke about that has always been, why don't you just take some vitamins, get 8 hours sleep, and put a fucking hat on? You're going to be fine.
You say that about the swine flu, too. I love that.
Don't just, straight across the board with that.
Yeah.
Just do that. Don't go down there.
Yeah. Never been a flu shot person. You're going to trust the
government.
Yeah.
The amount of times when shit gets released, they're so fucking corrupt.
Yeah.
That even when stuff becomes public knowledge, they still black out or red out so much of it. It's like you're really not showing me.
Right. The one thing, like, for example, the 9/11 conspiracy that I like to bring up, it's not anything about 9/11. It's that the government not giving a shit about us as a people, like 3,000 people not being a big deal. I'm like, well, more people died after because of respiratory problems, and FEMA was like, it's fine to breathe the air, everybody come volunteer, it's fine. And they knew it wasn't. The amount of like fucking smoke detectors and the mercury and all the shit and all the asbestos, people are still dying from this. It's a fucking tragedy. That's my example of like, oh, there you go, the government doesn't really give a fuck about you. Why would I let them give me a shot?
Yeah, and I don't think it's like a systematic, like they all, are we going to give a fuck about them today?
Right.
All in favor?
It's just natural.
It's just, no, I don't think it's possible to govern this many people. Like, once you move out of being a tribe, you can't do it. So what you got to do is just, I mean, they can't even keep the fucking the roads paved.
Right.
It's fucking.
Well, we have two things happening.
To keep, I mean, how many square miles is this country? Trying to govern all that is fucking impossible.
Yeah.
And then you got all the other bullshit, lobbyists and people throwing money on different horses. Come on, man, give me that contract. You got all that bullshit.
Yeah.
How money talks, and if you're broke, go fuck yourself. There's just like I've stepped away from the whole, you know, there's 20 guys and they run everything. I just think there's different gangs.
Yeah.
And they're all and they're sort of hooking up with other gangs, and then they have like their little fights.
Yeah, because it doesn't add up that the problem with every conspiracy is that no one could be that organized. That's the best counter argument to any conspiracy. But the idea that a gang
like
of
9/11,
people,
like I don't get how those towers fell the way they fell.
Yep.
And granted, I have no engineering degree.
Right.
And my research was a YouTube video.
Yeah.
But just the amount of fucking people that would have to be involved and then keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 2 major airlines.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna wire.
Right.
Two of the biggest skyscrapers.
Well, 3.
Well, that little one, but the 2 huge ones.
Yeah. Well, World Trade Center 7 was a big building.
Not compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
Are we really going to get in this debate?
You put it in Cleveland, it's going to be one of the bigger buildings.
I don't think it is.
I could be wrong.
One of the wider ones.
Yeah, it's pretty wide.
It's
pretty wide.
Very husky. It's a husky building.
It was like you as a child.
Yeah.
It was thick.
Yeah.
A thick building.
Okay, and those other buildings were what people would look like in the 8th and 9th grade, and I was still down there.
And you're telling me I'm one of those things, but I'm wearing this T-shirt, so no one pays me any mind.
You're like World Trade number 2, yet you're wearing that I'm the little squat building shirt.
Because I don't want to threaten anybody. I want to be welcoming. Look at me.
You can't do that.
Make you a sandwich.
You can't do that in life.
Why?
Because
I get this all the time. People are like, fucking man up.
You know that shit with like prison, where if you go in, you're
you got to kick the ass of the big guy.
Then you see, outside is prison light. So it's still, if you make yourself an easy target on any fucking level, going down to a taco stand and you just make yourself look like you're the guy someone can step in front of and you're not going to say anything, it's going to fucking happen. And incrementally, your life sucks.
What an interesting worldview.
It takes more time.
I don't know about that. What is the downside of being the friendly guy in line at a taco stand? I don't see people stepping in front of me.
Okay, you know what I might be guilty of? Superimposing how I feel you should be living. So go ahead. You know, you want to stand there all fucking day for a taco? Do it. I don't give a shit.
As long as I can wear my nerd T-shirt. But it doesn't happen. What happens is I buy the taco and the clerk goes, I love Star Wars. And I go, you're goddamn right. Thanks for the extra guac. No charge. High five.
That sounded like a nerd beer commercial. Like, does that really happen? Then what? You're sitting by the pool with some models. Get the fuck out of here. That never happened. Maybe once.
Well, being a nice guy leads to people helping you. That's the troubling truth that I have to face.
Well, this is what you have to do. You can't just... this is how I feel. People have to earn you being nice to them. There's a certain level of respect that you give somebody because they're a fellow human being. And then as far as like going the extra...
Nice.
That's give and take.
Okay.
Because what happens is if you're an overly nice guy...
Yep.
And just give people the benefit of the doubt. Psychos gravitate to people like you because especially if you're a woman. That's like every fucking woman that gets with one of these assholes. You ever see like some girl gets beaten by that guy? They're always like these really nice fucking girls because any other girl who's like, what the
Yeah.
The first time they do it, get the fuck out of here.
Right,
you know?
right. Well,
you're
boundaries.
gonna get some letters on that.
Boundaries.
I just said that like I was. I'm a little bit less smarter than Dr. Phil, who looks
No,
like a crooked cop to me.
You're right. We need to have boundaries. What I'm learning is to not just let it be an unending stream, equally given to everybody. You're absolutely right. There needs to be like, oh, you're an abusive person, you're a manipulative person, you're a negative person.
You don't deserve nice guy Pete Holmes.
Get the fuck out of here.
All right.
Here comes. I'm going to turn this T-shirt inside out, and it just says "fuck yourself."
You know what you're like in wrestling? Like you've been like a baby face your whole career. At some point, you got to switch over and be a heel. You know how they do with the characters, where all of a sudden we need to see bad guy Pete Holmes,
like with the Undertaker hat,
grow a beard and dye it jet black. We'll start with that and walk around like a piece of 2x4, like Hacksaw. Who the hell? I was going to say Hacksaw Jim Reynolds. That was a football player. Hacksaw Dunning. What was the name of that wrestler?
I don't know.
Come on, all you nerds watch wrestling, don't you?
No, see, again, I don't belong completely here. You want to talk about Super Nintendo?
You know, I never played video games.
Really?
My parents wouldn't let me play them because they thought it was going to take away from my studies, and I still flunked everything. They didn't let me play sports because they thought it was going to take away from my. What it did was just make.
Imagine if they had let you play both.
I think. Well, I still would have flunked, but I would have had a much better social life. But in my later years, I just realized, you know what? I'm sort of my own parent now. So now I play pickup hockey. Like I always wanted to play hockey when I was a kid. I just didn't come from a hockey family, so I started playing. I fell in with these guys the other day, and yesterday. One of the guys who plays with us works for the LA Kings.
Yeah.
And they got these things like a couple times during the season. You can pay like $75 and go down and play
the Kings
at the
play?
Staples Center. I
Really?
did it yesterday, dude. It was like skating on the fucking moon. It was almost like they had the ice was so smooth and the puck moved so fast and you could stop so quick and you could skate faster. It was like some other guys had played before, so we skate out on this fresh ice where it's just like as you're skating out there, you felt in this giant place all by yourself, and like somebody took off the glove. They go, "Dude, touch the ice." You put it down, dude. It was like I can't even explain, the smoothest thing ever I'd ever touched, and like it was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
I want to be.
Yeah, so I ended up. You know, it's so funny. I got so into what that felt like to touch that ice, I forgot what my fucking point was.
You self-parenting.
Yeah, so you can go out and do all the shit that they didn't let you do because your parents are just doing. You know, they're
doing the best they can with what they got.
Yeah, and I didn't become a serial killer, and I wasn't an asshole.
Right.
You know, well, people debate that, but whatever. I mean, I was all right. You know, I was an all right guy.
I think about self-parenting all the time. It's a weird phenomenon. Recently, I wanted a soda. Like I really want a Coke, but Coke's like fucking bad for you. I was like, in my brain goes, Pete, you can have a Coke if you drink a glass of water first. And I was like, okay. And I drank a glass of water, didn't want the Coke anymore, and I went, well played, brain dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, there's a dad up there now. There's a dad.
No, that's good.
Let me put a button in the comedy and advice portion, because when you were talking about it, this is the last line of an email. I wrote you an email. This was years ago, 2007 or something. First of all, I couldn't believe you fucking replied to this email. We worked already together. You said all these nice things, and it was great. Then I wrote you an email, and I was like, look, I'm in New York. I don't know what I'm doing. I say I'm like, I have an act already. 3 years, and I think I have an act. I wrote the line, I have an act already, after 3 years working as a middle out of Chicago. I think this is a big deal. And you didn't make fun of me. And I was like, can you give me any advice on how to, like, avoid bullshit? Like all the bringers and barkers and horrible shows.
You're going to read this?
Yeah, no, I just want to read the one line that I tell people this all the time. It's just keep your head down. Don't be a dick. People will like you. You'll get in. That's what you said. That's how you ended. Fucking keep your goddamn head down. That's what I'm hearing when you say, here I am being like, Bill, please tell me how your big lofty thoughts on how you got to this theater, to these wonderful albums and all, and whatever television success.
You just don't quit.
You're like, keep your goddamn head down. That's what Gaffigan told me too. Be undeniable. Work it. Everything
It's so much
else.
easier. It takes longer, but it's so much easier because it's not built in sand.
Yeah.
You just fucking
It has
don't
roots.
try to cut corners. Just do it.
Yes.
And you know, I'm not saying like
Well, you told me to go to the Boston, which is the opposite of cutting corners. It was like the fucking sweatiest,
go down there
shittiest
and get beat
gym.
up.
I got beat up. See, I never got beat up as a kid, and I got my ass kicked. You want to talk
that
about?
place used to make me nervous.
Yeah.
Like I'd walk by during the day and see when they back in the day when they had that that dirty red awning. Like it literally, it
Made
was
your heart rate
like
go
if
up.
we were boxers, like the
Yeah.
fight was already over. Like during the stare down,
Yes,
the
yes.
awning won every time I saw it, and I was just like,
You had a visceral reaction.
and I hated it. I was like, I got to get over this fucking fear. Like
Yes.
I was really intimidated by New York, and that's how I ended up eventually doing the Apollo and doing those things because I was like, I have to put an end to this because I know that I can be funny, but this fear is fucking with it. So rather than, one of the few times rather than running away from fear in my life, like with stand up, I always went towards it.
Me too. I've avoided it.
And through doing stand up, I've actually, tried to apply it to different parts of my life. I haven't done it as successfully because
Isn't that funny? That
yeah.
comes up a lot. That skill of facing fear on stage, we try and blend our offstage persona. You talk about me not being a pussy and growing a pair and all that sort of stuff. On stage, not a pussy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm trying to be like, hey, that guy. When
Yeah.
I get off stage, can you fucking come with me, please?
This is how it kind of you start off. There's offstage you and onstage you.
Yes.
And then you become basically then offstage and onstage is the same person, and then onstage starts passing your offstage where you start becoming the guy you wished you were offstage.
Yes.
And you can be way more, like I don't walk around telling people to go fuck themselves, but on stage I do.
Right.
But because there's really not like I don't know. There's something about being up there and you have a microphone and it's a show, and you're 3 inches higher than the crowd. You go, oh, there's this invisible force field. So then you start having this Chuck Norris like swagger. Like the amount of times I've fucked with people in the crowd and then they're giving me shit. I'll fuck you up after the show. Yeah, go fuck. No, you're not. You fucking pussy. Go hug your dad. And then the second I put the mic in the mic stand, it's like I put away my lightsaber and then I immediately become offstage and be like, oh my god, I hope he doesn't wait for me in the parking lot.
Oh my god.
Like I seriously go back to that other guy because I just because I'm angry and I have this accent, people think like oh, you had a ton of fight. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. I avoided them. I walked away from tons of them. Some of them still hurt me. That I walked away and I should have taken the ass kicking. But I'm like everybody.
You assume you would have lost.
Huh?
I should have taken the ass kicking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It
No,
would've
but
given you some grit.
I had that thing where I've always had that thing where people liked fucking with me, and I think that's why I became such a defensive maniac.
Right.
And
The howdy-doody mug me face.
Yeah, and then it got mistaken to like, oh, this guy had a bunch of fights growing up.
Right.
I didn't.
I actually wrote that down because I was watching your act and I was like, have you ever been punched in the face? You're talking about like getting punched in the
that
face.
happened. But I mean, I wasn't like past a certain age, I tapped out.
Right.
And it was that thing where I didn't hit my growth spurts, and all of a sudden people outweighed me by 40 pounds. It's like I saw a couple guys get the shit kicked out of them, and I was cured of that. So
You had that bit where you were
I
like,
fought like right up till about like 8th grade.
Yeah.
But then once high school and like, all of a sudden, that weird age where like, you haven't even hit puberty and your best friend has a mustache, like that age. I sort of like tapped out then and, and I lost a few fights and it's not fun. Getting punched in the face is not fucking fun.
Yeah.
And, I had like it was weird, but then like fights amongst my brothers just were nonstop, right? Like physical fights right up until about I was 20.
That's funny.
So I had like they were almost like I felt like sanctioned fights in a way because
there was an understanding.
And there's an understanding that dad's coming home at some point, and even if I lose, if you really fuck me up, like I never had the courage to just throw down with some guy in a bar because it's like, I don't know what this guy. I somehow just intuitively knew that like this.
He could be Bruce Lee.
Like this isn't the guy. Yeah, like I remember when I was in New York. I always tell this story that like there was a guy who got arrested for a double murder. Like murdered these two old people in Western Massachusetts. When they picked him out, he was handing out those flyers for the double-decker bus tour.
Oh my
and
God.
that right there is why.
You don't fuck with
because you're like,
people.
hey, they a busboy flyer guy,
yeah.
right? And he just hacked up two people in Massachusetts. Or that guy in that McDonald's beatdown. Those two girls thought they were thugs, and they slapped him in the face, and they didn't realize he just got out of prison. And this fucking guy was unbelievable, dude. Like, I don't know where he got this metal handle. I was joking on my podcast. It was like in cartoons, where like Bugs Bunny would reach behind him, and there'd be this giant hammer.
Yeah.
He did that, and he fucking kicked the shit out of, like, he gave them the prison beatdown, like where you've already beat them down and you continue for another 12 to 27 strokes. Like,
God.
Yeah, and it was just like, that right there is why you don't walk around just slapping people.
Yeah, don't slap people in the face.
So I never had the
I used to go to an open mic all the time where there was this one kid who was very, very strange, and I was, I'm not patting, I guess I am patting myself on the back. I was one of the only people that would talk to him, and I was nice to him. Everybody else loved making fun of this dude. He dressed like Johnny Depp and in Fear and Loathing and whatever, and he committed some atrocious crime. I don't really remember the details, but he went away, and I was like, that's why.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Dane has a great bit about being nice to the office weirdo because he's like, you give him candy. Yeah. Everyone else is mean to him, give him candy. And on the day that he's shooting up the office, he just goes, thanks for the candy, and doesn't kill you. Isn't that great?
There's another guy.
Yeah.
There's another. Comedians should make a list. Like, all these people always making those top. There's another guy.
Dane. He gets defended on this podcast a lot, and I take my nerd shit for it, and I'll take it happily. I saw him, speaking of what I said to Brian, I was like, you should get a handwritten thank you note. I said to Dane, I was like, more people come to my shows because of you. And I was like, I appreciate that. If I do a college, I'm just some guy.
Yeah, they didn't, I don't know, like they didn't get to see, I got to watch him, he started a little bit earlier than but I got to watch him just come up with a completely different style of stand-up.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like he got credit for that. Like, he used to have 15, 20-year vets shaking in their boots. That's how hard he was killing in the middle.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, I shouldn't have to follow this.
Right.
And they would be like, where are the jokes? Like, he was doing something so different, like they didn't even get it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one time, like, I've told this story before, like, the 9,000 podcasts I've done. One year around the Christmas holidays, he just would go on stage and sing holiday songs and doing this sort of silly way.
Yeah.
And was killing.
Yeah.
And this guy in the back goes, those aren't jokes. Those aren't jokes. It's like, dude, listen to the crowd.
Right. That's what's so threatening. And I've talked about this before, where it's like, you can't quantify it. But that's what makes it this sort of like X factor. Fuck yourself. You wish you had that talent.
Right.
It makes us angry. I want to go on stage. I go on stage and try and sing and be silly and try and make something that wouldn't be funny if anyone else were saying it funny.
Right.
I want me to be funny. Dane has that bit on his first album where he just goes, pickles, cheese, pickles. It's someone ordering through a drive-through.
Right.
So I swear it's 5 minutes if it's one. It's just that. Pickles, cheese on my pussy. It doesn't make any sense. Fucking destroying. Laughter that I haven't heard humans make.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. But now so many people have kind of like ripped them off.
Yep.
Because that's what happens when you start a whole new style, is then people rip it off.
Especially in LA, I feel like.
Yeah, and then it becomes like this, I don't know. It's like I would say that The Office. Like that whole sort of everybody's awkward and then,
looking at the camera.
Yeah, and then looking away and do that. Now, that's been done so much.
We're going to revert more to like I think we're going to revert more to like no acknowledgement that it's a show, like almost like straight drama comedy sort of stuff.
I hope like more like Midnight Run sort of comedy comes back. I've always liked that. I always like when it comes from a I don't know. I prefer that. I prefer that style. Not like I'm shitting on The Office. I'm just saying that everybody has been stolen.
Yeah.
That whole style. Well, actually, we stole that series, didn't we?
We stole but
BBC.
Also they probably got it a little bit from Spinal Tap. I think Ricky Gervais would say that that mockumentary style.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you want to trace it back even further. And I bet you could find something before Spinal Tap. I'm just not smart enough to know what it is. The last thing we always talk about on the show.
This is the longest podcast.
I fucking love this podcast.
Rogan one time I did 4 hours.
Really?
And it didn't feel like 4 hours, and I woke up and I had like back sweat from sitting on the chair.
It's usually much hotter in here. I don't know how we lucked out, but it's usually a sweat bath in here. Can I say one thing before we get to the last topic? You told me one time about doing black crowds. You were talking about this white girl on stage, and she was killing, talking about throwing up. And then all these black women were going nuts.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, she was talking about being drunk.
Yeah, and then do you remember the moment that they stopped laughing? Because you told me the story, and I've been fascinated with that idea.
She said, she goes, and then you're trying not to puke on yourself, and everybody's dying laughing. She was really attractive, so everybody immediately judged her when she went up there.
Right.
Like, oh, fuck this good-looking bitch.
Right.
And then she started killing. And she had a sense of humor about herself. Then they loved her. And then she's going like, and you're puking and this happened. And then she goes, your hair's sweeping across the floor. And immediately they all,
nothing.
That was it.
Because of all the weave tension, I suppose.
Yeah. Watch that Chris Rock documentary.
I've seen it.
You watched that.
Good hair.
So it was and
I thought of you telling me that story. It was such a sensitive, interesting.
She said that, and immediately it was just.
Yeah.
It just stopped. And I saw the look on her face because she had no idea. Like, I finally got you.
Yeah.
Because, we were both nervous. We were like, oh, fuck. Like it was one of those those comedy gigs at a like college. Like, I don't know, the agent was just going for the money, and they booked us to at like Howard Junior Community College. I don't know what it was, but we walk in there thinking it's going to be mixed, or just like Lily White School or whatever. We walk in, it was all black students, and then we're like two of the whitest people ever, and it's just that fucking unsolved Rubik's cube. All right, here we go. Start spinning the cube. How am I going to figure this out?
Yeah. Or are you going to take the beating?
So she went up there, and they immediately were just, fuck you. And she got him on her side, and then she made that reference. And she gradually got him back, but she never quite killed.
As hard as she was pre-hair comment.
The same way. And I was with,
so
and I wasn't even sure, and I was, the headliner was a black comic. I said it was the hair thing, right? And he goes, it was the hair thing.
Interesting. And that had never been discussed. It's just so in the culture. It's like, once you say that, we're gone. It's almost like religious. If you play Utah and you make the wrong comment, we were talking about Mormonism, make the wrong comment, you make a polygamy thing or whatever, gone.
But it's all how you do it, because if she actually tagged it.
Right. If she had acknowledged it.
If she addressed it.
I know, yeah.
No, she would have killed on a whole nother level, and then it would have been like, oh, this girl's cool. She actually gives a fuck enough to learn beyond her own little world.
Yeah.
And then you go into the euphoria of the mascot zone.
Yes.
And then it's just like, oh, this is the one of you that we love. And then you start, then your shit that was like 20% funny becomes 60% funny. And if you're really not careful, you can get addicted to that.
Yeah.
And you'll be like
chasing that high.
You'll start just doing those rooms.
Yeah.
And subconsciously giving them exactly what they want.
Yeah.
You start living this lie.
That's so funny. And then you're doing kind of like,
I'm a white guy. I don't know how to dance. I remember there's a guy that used to do this bit. There's a party over here. There's a party over there. And where's the party? And I don't. It's like right there. It's like, dude, if you were intelligent enough to write that joke, you get it. So that right now that's phony.
Yeah.
And he used to always fucking kill and annoyed the shit out of me whenever I saw it. I was like, that bit is bullshit.
We actually talked, speaking of alt hack, there's a thing where you take rap lyrics, and some of my best friends and some of my funniest friends do this. And I've certainly, I just don't listen to enough hip hop, I suppose. But you take a rap lyric, and then the whole premise is, I don't get that, or that doesn't add up. That doesn't make sense. In fact, I remember one time you, me, and fucking Sherrod were in front of the Cellar. This is a great ball busting thing. So I'm new to the city, and I'm nervous just to be in front of the Cellar and to be standing with you guys.
So everybody smelled it on you, and you showed
everybody
up.
smelled it on me.
You got pounded.
You knew it immediately. And Sherrod made some reference. He was buying weed, and he made some reference. I don't know what it was. He called it a spliff or whatever. And I go, what's a spliff? Or, right, playing up the fact that, and you knew exactly what I was doing. But here's where it gets interesting. You couldn't break my balls because no one was listening. Like, there wasn't a window. So it was just you and me standing there, and you were like, I hate when... But then you realized Sherrod wasn't listening, so you had to wait. And so we're just standing there, and I remember feeling like, please, Bill, don't fucking just let it go. And then when he stopped, he was like, this fucking guy, and it destroyed it.
Oh, because you deliberately acted like you didn't know what he was saying.
And you were like, I hate when these white guys do that, and I was like, But it's a rite of passage.
No, but that's what's great about the Cellar, because that whole shit happened to me too. They would. I had this thing that I was. I kept. You just get into like just a brain lock. I kept ending my sets going, thank a lot, you guys were great. I had a blast. For some reason I was saying I had a blast. I did it for like a year. I don't know why I said I had a blast, but that's what I said, and nobody called me on it. Then one time, Keith Robinson.
Yes.
I like third show, stand up New York in front of like 20 people, and hey, you guys were great. I had a blast. And then he just came walking out. And he goes, really? Did you really have a blast, Bill? Do you always have a blast? Shut up, stupid. Sit down. And I was like, fuck, you got me. And he goes, every fucking time, I had a blast. Really? This is where you want to be? In front of 20 people at 2 in the morning? You fucking disgust me.
Did he do that on stage?
Yeah, get out of my face. No, he didn't do it on stage.
Oh, he just did it even better. He
even
just
worse.
Did it
he did it in front of a bunch
you.
of other. Oh yeah. He completely just de-pantsed me.
But you kind of learned. That's how I learned from my older brother. My older brother would make fun of me, and that's how I learned different lessons. And I still remember the first time after I had done TV. This was actually with you, Big J. Me, you, and Big J were sitting there, and you made fun of me. And Big J goes, "Shut up, Bill. Pete's got more credits than you now." And I was like, "Shh, don't bring me into this. Don't bring me into this. And I remember there was this, it's such a weird fucking club. We want to be included. We want to be involved, and those credits seemed to pave the way, but I still was like, no, I'm still
that was
very
one of the
afraid.
angriest periods of my life.
Really?
It was when I was working the cellar regularly in the early to mid 2000s.
Really?
I was really fucking angry. Yeah, 'cause that was when I don't know. It was just all personal life shit, and all this stuff was coming out. And like when I first came to New York, I was this, seemingly happy-go-lucky person, but that was just because everything was paved over.
Yeah.
And I was even convinced myself that I wasn't a complete fucking psycho. And the shit kind of hit the fan in the 2000s. So that comes back to that shit I was just telling you about in 2012. I'm still trying to work through not losing my shit, putting
because
together
of that time?
a gym apparatus. No, because not because of what happened during that time. It was just like
You told me
I don't know,
you used to throw
you-
Letterman sets and stuff. You told me that you would have a Letterman audition and you would deliberately do shit you know they would hate.
No, I did that on a Conan audition. Because that's when I was going through
That was a different time?
Networks are bullshit, and that I should be able to do my tested for AIDS bit on Conan. And like I just didn't understand the business. It's like, all right, let me get this straight, kid. We were all worked our balls off for 20 years. We had a show. It started. We got ripped by the critics. And now we got this thing going, and now it's a hit, and it's all going to be brought down by some douchebag who's been doing comedy for 4 years
For his AIDS bit.
his AIDS bit. It's like I after a while realized like, oh, when you're doing those 5-minute sets, that's just like you're doing a monologue. It's a showcase. It's a privilege to be
You're
there.
a guest. Yeah, you're a guest.
You don't go. Yeah, it's like you don't go there and try to fuck up their deal. And I understand if you're like, well, then fuck it, I won't do them. And it's like, good, then don't do them. But don't get mad when they say. When they have rules
Right.
for the house that they built.
Yeah.
That's like you walk into somebody's house,
Yeah.
take your shoes off.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you fucking sell out.
But wearing shoes is my thing.
That's my thing.
It's my persona.
Yeah, stop censoring me. It's like, and you really don't want to do. You're edgy as shit.
Right.
Save it for your special.
But so you were angry at different things, not the networks during the.
Well, I wasn't even angry at that. I was angry about shit that happened when I was a kid. It was just all misdirected. So that's what I'm saying. It was all I'm working my way through that
Right.
in the 2000s till now. Like I'm genuinely a happy guy. Like I'm cool with where I'm at. I like my life, and but I still have like those. And it's funny. I've so worked through my fucking anger. My girl's still looking at me like you were the angriest fucking person I ever met.
We got to get to that. One thing
right.
I remember you told me one thing before we get to relationships is that you did a special and your parents came.
Are we almost done? Because she seems like she's fidgeting over there. Like we've talked way too long.
She has IBS.
What is IBS?
Irritable bowel.
Oh.
A lot of shitting.
Oh, really?
I'm kidding. She doesn't have
That's
that.
so brave of you that you can just open up to that.
You had the
That's-
worst job. If you did have IBS, this would be the worst job for you ever, to sit here and wonder how long this podcast is going to go. You know, man, I'm just trying to make the podcast that I want to hear, and I don't want this conversation to be over.
All right.
You said
I do have a life I have to get to.
Yeah.
It's like 20 to 3.
That's the difference between you and me. I don't have anywhere to be. I don't even have a show tonight. Anyway, your parents were at the taping. I remember, this is another moment at the cellar. See, this is the unique thing that I have. I only have these little snapshots of your
I
life.
can't get my car back to my girl. I just realized I said I'd be home by like 2:30. So we really got to wrap this up here.
We're going to wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up on this one.
Oh, God, then we got to do relationships. Let's talk about that. You're not married. You're 40,
3.
43. Not married. Do you want to get married? How did you...
I would love to get married, but I am fucking terrified of getting married, and especially in this state. It's fucking ridiculous. It's a no-fault state.
Right.
They can, if they hang around for 10 years, you got to pay for them for the rest of their fucking... Like, Kobe has to pay for that woman for the rest of his life. I know a lot of people are going, oh, well, he has the money. All right, but it's the principle of the thing. You're a
Right.
fucking adult. Get a goddamn job.
You're capable,
Get a fucking
able-bodied...
job. And stop writing these fucking independent woman songs. And like that we can do everything that you can fucking do, and then all of a sudden when it's advantageous to just be like, oh, I'm just a girl, I can't do stuff, that you can fucking get away with that. It's complete fucking bullshit. It's complete fucking bullshit. I worked 20 years to get where the fuck I'm at, and I can lose it all if the person I'm with, which
Right.
I have no control over, just decides, I'm gonna bang the guy across the street, and you're gonna fucking pay for my life for the rest of my life.
Jesus,
Go,
wow.
and it's totally legal.
Yeah, what a racket.
It's bullshit.
So how long have you been with your girlfriend?
8 years. I'm basically married the way I want to be married. I have no intentions of leaving.
It's like Carlin.
I'm actually trying to think right now. Like I'm like, look, I'm never going to leave her, so I don't have to worry about a marriage failing. But there's the fly in the ointment if she decides to leave. And it's just like,
Right.
all of a sudden, I'm in my 50s and I got to sleep on a fucking futon. These goddamn fucking women in the crowd, when you bring it up, they go like, that's right, that's right. It's like me bringing up domestic violence. Somebody hits somebody and I go, that's right.
That's what you get.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, God.
And they go, oh, well, you shouldn't have married it. They just blame you. It's like, oh, well, you shouldn't have wore that short skirt. What the fuck is wrong with you? A bad law is a bad law. These divorce laws are fucking ridiculous.
Oh, my God.
They're fucking ridiculous. And then people have to, like, guys have to organize. There's got to be some sort of pushback. You went from the rule of thumb to this fucking shit. No fault. You can blow the guy across the street and I got to pay for your life. And I got to move out of this house, you fucking cunt. Are you serious? And all people will hear is, that's hateful towards women. You said cunt. No, that is the definition of a cunt who would do something like that. It's fucking ridiculous. It's unbelievable. So now I can't get married because this fucking law won't change. And I'm waiting for someone else to do it because I just like yelling about it. No, it's ridiculous. I had a buddy of mine. He fucking made a ton of money. You know, when he was working construction and he started doing entertainment at night and he got into the business and his wife's going, why don't you stop fucking around? You need to make more money. It was just a bitch to him the whole time. He ends up fucking making it. Right? They get a divorce. Okay, and in the divorce process, I supported him.
Yeah.
I did all this. I'm used to a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's what I love too. I'm used to a certain lifestyle. Two people are in a relationship that fails.
Yeah.
And one person gets to continue living as if it didn't fail. While the other person who doesn't get to live the lifestyle has to pay for that fucking lifestyle.
Jesus.
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Jesus,
and it's straight across the board. Britney Spears, when she got divorced from that backup fucking dancer, she built that guy a studio. He still couldn't make a hit. What the fuck more does she have to do for this guy? And then she gives him all this money, sits around. What does he do? Becomes a fat fuck, sitting eating goddamn Doritos all day in some $3,000 tracksuit that she paid for. It's fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. So no, I'm not married. There you go. End it on that. It's not going to get better than that.
That's fucking perfect. Bill, Burr, thank you so much, man.
All right, there you go.
Sincerely. Are you going to say keep it crispy? You don't have to. That's how we end the show.
I always think it's funny when you say that.
What? Keep it crispy.
I'm on Pete Holmes. You made it weird.
Keep it crispy.
Keep it crispy, motherfuckers. Yeah! All right, see ya.